And now, a word from our sponsors. The Oyster Recovery Partnership is the nonprofit expert in Chesapeake Bay oyster restoration. Oyster Recovery Partnership has planted more than 9 billion oysters on 3,000 acres of reef and recycled more than 250 bushels of shell. Everyone benefits from a healthy Chesapeake Bay. Poor water quality and declining habitats can be reversed. Oysters are the answer. Pescavore is packaged in a convenient, single-serving size with no refrigeration required until after opening. Pescavore is the perfect, healthy, and delicious snack for those on the go. Pescavore, tuna that travels. Hey, what's going on, good people? It's Gardner Douglas, your oyster ninja. I'm here today with a local and worldwide celebrity, an inventor, performer, actress. I don't know, maybe one day, kind of, sort of. I don't know.
That'd be kind
of fun. Shelby Blondell. What's going on?
Hey man, how are you? It's good to see you.
It's good to virtually see you.
I know, it's always good.
It's crazy. We hadn't seen each other in a year, 2 year, 3 year, and then all of a sudden we've seen each other twice in 1 week, twice in 7 days.
Seafood just tends to bring people together. Seafood and a good time.
Yeah. So I had to bring you on the podcast. Well, I've been wanting to get you on the podcast since I first met you. I believe the first time I met you was at Heavy Seas Brewery, and we were doing an oyster festival. You said it was another festival or something, but who knows? Who cares? We know each other now. That's what's important. Um, but yeah, when I first saw your sheller, the sheller, and you've done some incredible things with the sheller since then. Like, I mean, before it was just, it was just a thing, and now it's really a thing. And we're coming into crab season, so I had to get you on.
Well, I appreciate being here. It's always it's interesting now looking at kind of where the sheller has, how it's gotten to where it's been, especially from that first event that I met you at. You're right, it was Heavy Seas. You are correct. It was a Christmas event, I believe. And I think what's interesting about that one is I remember you explaining to me kind of another way how people used to open oysters at that event, like how they used to open them with a hammer. I don't know if you remember that, but I like very vividly remember that conversation.
No, I definitely remember. Because that's the way my dad shucked. So I know, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember that was kind of the way how, like, because when I first invented the sheller, it was thicker at that point, and that wasn't really how, like, I didn't really perfect the sheller yet. So if some of these people listening might have the OG sheller, you might have the thick version, and it's kind of come a very long way. Like now they're about half the size, so you can use it on a lot more things, and still kind of use it as the hammer on the oyster, but definitely on crabs and oysters and lobster and Dungeness crab because of that weight and all that. But it's definitely come a long way, and I think the best part is the fun and the people and experiences along the way.
So we've definitely been hinting around, and we've dropped some pretty key hints. But you invented this tool to help the average person open crabs, not oysters. You thought I was going to say oysters, but no. Actually, but we did do a video where I shucked the oyster with it. But crabs. So what made you, all right, break down the sheller. What is the sheller?
So the crab is the now patented flat stainless steel mallet picker bottle opener. So it's probably easier if you see it, but mallet picker, picker, a bottle opener. It's flat, so it stores in your drawers. It's stainless steel, so you can wash it. Also, stainless steel kind of takes off that seafood crab smell, some people say. But it's got that weight, so it gives you that flat crack instead of smashing it like those wooden mallets do, because wooden mallets aren't really effective. And they're dirty, kind of nasty. And stainless steel lasts, right? So it's kind of this novelty, everlasting thing that is kind of full of Maryland pride. I make it here in Maryland. I have someone who, another Maryland company who helps me do the cutting, and then I still do the hand sanding and all of that. So it's filled with a whole lot of love.
A lot of love, a lot of Maryland love, a lot of Maryland pride behind it. Of course, what's more Maryland than crab, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, but crabs, but it also works lobster tail. It works really well on, but other Maryland, other seafood, not just Maryland,
mhm.
Dungeness crab, because it is stainless steel, so really hard shell
Yeah.
things. Um, and it's not necessarily meant to be, it was made for crabs, but it wasn't
Mhm.
necessarily meant to be made for an oyster tool, but it can be used on oysters.
Right.
If you want a one tool to kind of do your whole seafood fest while you're eating your crabs and you just want that thing that can kind of do that and also maybe butter your corn while you're at it. Just, you know, open your paint can.
So what made you come up with this tool though?
I was eating crabs one night with my parents, and when you're out at a crab house and they give you that plastic knife and the wooden mallet, and I remember mistakenly kind of picking up that wooden mallet and the plastic knife, and kind of just picking them both up with them facing opposite ends, and thinking this would be really cool to have both of these in the same function, but also a bottle opener. This is something that's very Maryland. As I was at the crab house, I was looking around, and at that point, every table was eating crabs. Every table was drinking a beer or something. Um, and then I went home that night looking for something like it, and it didn't exist. There were different things that had maybe a multi effect, but not anything that had the efficiency. And from that point on, that whole next week was spent just kind of doing what I needed to do, trying to find the right people who could put me in the right direction of learning everything that I needed to learn to really start, you know, trying to learn all the things that I needed to try to learn to bring this thing to life.
What's the first problem you ever solved? Because somebody doesn't just jump into this, you know what? I'm gonna make this tool and I'm gonna do my research. Like, what was your first problem you ever solved?
Oh man. Well, I mean, there were a ton because I mean, I am a singer songwriter musician before anything. So actually, that was probably the second event that we saw each other at. I was performing, and you were shucking, and so I knew nothing about engineering, or I knew about creating music, but not creating a product and bringing the engineering kind of manufacturing thing to life. So from that aspect, I knew nothing. Um, the next morning after kind of having the idea, I was doing a lot of drawing and sketching. So like that part was fine, but I went to the Foundry, which was a place in Baltimore that kind of had machines and things, and the people there were incredible. They taught me kind of how to use the machines, how to, do kind of CAD drawings and use the metal there and all of that, because that was a huge problem for me. I knew nothing about that, and that's what I needed to kind of know how to do to figure out what would work for something like this. What are the sizes, the dimensions that needed to work for something like this, and 19 prototypes later, it got it to where it needed to be.
What were some of the biggest frustrations in the process besides the learning curve?
Learning curve was huge. One big frustration, and I don't know if it's really a frustration, but a passion maybe, but I was really passionate about wanting to make sure that I had people in Maryland to work with, rather than working. I didn't want to do this as a um, overseas manufacturing, just give it up, you know, type thing. I really wanted to continue to, it's a very Maryland product. Yes, other people use it, but I wanted to really continue on with this Maryland pride. So it was something that was super important to me to find people to continue to work with here in Maryland. Um, so that became just something that took a lot of time to work on.
Got you. That's important too. That's important. I mean, giving back to the community. Like, a lot of times when, I've gotten very grown in these last few months. Like I'm listening to C-SPAN and a whole bunch of other things that I never thought I would be listening to first thing in the morning. Um, but they're always talking about, how companies are outsourcing and going to other places to, cheaper labor or whatever's the reason. So that's very important and very admirable to you.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So how do people usually react to so is it called the crab now or the sheller?
Well, it's called the sheller.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do people usually react when they see the sheller?
Uh, the reactions are actually it's fun. The reactions are fun. Normally the reactions are very exciting. Um, I will normally have a video playing. That's one of the reasons why I really love going to shows and vendor fair type things or festivals, because when you see people's reaction, it's the best. Because a lot of times it's, why have I not seen this? Or recently now, which is probably one of the most kind of makes me tear up a little bit, but a reaction that probably over the past year I've been seeing is some people saying, "Oh, I have one of those," or, "Oh, I got that for Christmas. I need to get this for this person." Which is, now that it's been out for a little bit, that's a new reaction that's coming, and that's something that kind of, says to me, "Oh, okay, I think people kind of like this. This is something that it's actually a thing now."
Yeah.
It's not just a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a thing.
Right.
Oh crap, it's a thing.
That's pretty magical. I mean, like you're not just, one and gone, like, but no, like people they love the tool and they want to share it with somebody else, another loved one to create a great experience.
Yeah,
Um
well, and crabs are all about the memories with family and friends and making memories that last, because you don't get full off of eating crabs. You get full of memories with everyone that's around you while you're eating them, and that's what you remember. And I think that's the thing that I remember from everything that I do with the sheller. It's the experiences and the people. And so I think for me it's always that's never lost on me, the people that kind of welcome the sheller into their homes.
Love the sheller. I try to do videos with it when I can. So again, thank you.
I
Um,
appreciate that.
let's talk about the music career though. What's going
Okay.
on? Like, when did you start singing? Do you have one of those stories like somebody was cam with a camcorder?
It's funny. When I was little, music, I wasn't one of those little kids who, was carrying around the little, miniature electric guitars and things. But I did start kind of really loving kind of writing songs and things in high school. And that's kind of when I started performing in high school, senior year of high school. And that's really my first in college is when I started really playing and kind of doing openings for national acts and things. Um, but music, I love it. I love storytelling and songwriting. And I think the cool thing about it is that music is such a universal language, and it gives you that space to communicate with other people and connect. And even if it's not because it's the same story and time and place in someone else's life, a song can still connect with someone else, even if it's not the same story, because it somehow relates to them in their life, in their place.
That's awesome. So you mentioned opening up for national acts. Like any what's like been some of your fondest memories, like opening up? Anything hit you?
Yeah, there's been a few. Pentatonics was a fun one. They were really, really sweet people. Um, Howie Day was another good one. Also with that one, he was someone who, from a musical standpoint, I really loved, from his songwriting and his performing. So playing with him was something really cool, really neat. James Author was another one too, just because that show in itself had just kind of a lot of moving pieces around it. So it was a whole kind of magical experience. So that was a lot of fun for me as well. But um, there's been, a lot of new music also coming out. And, the summer and springtime is always my favorite, especially when I'm playing with a full band. So a lot of new fun stuff coming up. So excited about all of that.
Anything you can share, like upcoming events or anything?
Absolutely. Well, absolutely. Well, there's a ton of new music, but let's see, this weekend, I don't know if this will be out, but this weekend, March 25th, is Maryland Day. So the full band is playing for that. And the Sheller will also be there for that all day. And then after that, there will be some announcements coming up on the Instagram and Facebook page, but there are a lot of full band kind of festival style shows and things coming up. So be on the lookout for those.
And in the meantime, people can listen to you on Spotify.
They sure can. Yep, just Shelby Blondell. Spotify is a great place to listen.
Now, this is a question more for myself. Do you upload your own music on the Spotify? How does that work?
I do. Some people anyone, you can have someone else do it for you.
Mhm.
I kind of act as my own manager. And part of that for me, I have some people who kind of help me do some things, but I like to really see what's going on behind the scenes for everything.
Mhm.
Um, Entrepreneurship was my major for undergrad and grad school. So um, I kind of like seeing how everything works, and also for things that I'm doing, I like to know what's going on as it's happening and understanding, just to know better.
What would you like to see out of your music career? Like, where does this lead to for you?
I get asked that a lot. And I think for me, everyone always, you can always dream of that stardom of Adele or Lady Gaga. But for me, I've never, I've always wanted my music to be heard from as many people as possible, you know? But to me, that doesn't necessarily mean to be the biggest thing. What it means is for it to be heard by whoever needs to hear it, you know? I always kind of look at the careers of, I love Jason Mraz and Sarah Bareilles, um, Ingrid Michaelson, and kind of those singer, songwriter, storyteller, activist type artists. Um, and I think I kind of see myself in that kind of realm, um, especially just of how things have been going, where things are headed.
So, with that being said, what what inspires you to write? Like, what puts words on the paper and they just won't stop?
Oh man, life. um, yeah, no, I mean, life. I think that's, as a whole. I think I'm inspired by everything. It's everything around. It can be the good, the bad, all the experiences. It's funny. I've got a song about having fun in the sun. I've got a song about dancing in the rain. I've got a song about entrepreneurship and starting it up. A song about fairy tales, um, the concept of fairy tales. So it can be about anything. One about life and living it to the fullest, and every day living it, up to the fullest. Um, but I think just, everyday experiences, the joys of it, and never kind of knowing is what inspires me. Sometimes it can be a random sound as I'm walking down the street,
And you just got to capture it, right?
right? Voice memos are great for that.
Right, right. No, that's true. Um, what do you think makes a song like just go straight to the top? You know how sometimes you can listen to an album and your favorite song might not be the number one hit. You know what I mean? It's like, man, this should have been the song,
Right.
you know?
I think that's what's so hard about albums and everything for an artist, is that it's so, it's up to the listener, and it's whatever that person is feeling in that moment, you know, um, and whatever's going on in their life. If you hit someone on a bad day and you're trying to give them a peppy song, I'm not having it. But yeah, I think it depends. I think a good beat, even if it's a
Mhm.
sad song, if you have a steady beat behind it
Yeah,
to drive it,
that's the one.
that's the one.
That's the one. Where do you so we talked about music and where, what you think you want to do and go. What about for the sheller? Are you thinking about another product? Are you thinking about taking the sheller to another place or what?
Well, I think the sheller is never going to stop. The sheller, I would love for the sheller to be in every Marylander's home and beyond. you know, I have different designs on shellers now, so it's kind of the gift that can keep on giving. But it's not just a Maryland tool. So taking it to other states and things is something that really excites me. And there's been orders that come in from other states, but myself traveling to other states is something that excites me. But definitely some other products and things are kind of in the works. So that's something that now that the sheller is kind of finalized and is a thing, those other things can kind of start to happen. So that's exciting to me.
No, that sounds exciting. I mean, I'll anytime you can finish a project for one, that's gonna be exciting. And then for it to be doing, well, that's my baby. It's finally walking, you
Yeah.
know.
And just set it off into the world. Let it do its let it do its thing.
So I think I started saying it earlier, but me and my buddy were talking last night, and we were talking about our small businesses, right? And the different things we're doing and where we're at in business.
Hmm.
But our both our dilemmas were we was like, well, do we scale to be bigger? And of course, always finding good help is a problem. But we were just thinking to ourselves and talking out loud over this, like, how do we get to the next level of like where just another level, because you can only be consistent for so long. Like, how long can you be consistent before you're starting to fall down? Before the numbers start going down.
Yeah,
You know?
you're right. Yeah, and I think for any business, that's a huge struggle. I mean, it's a struggle for me, and and I think that's always so hard because anytime you try to bring anyone else on to help with your baby, um, you're giving up a little piece,
Mm-hmm.
and then it becomes a piece that you can no longer kind of monitor, um, and you have to really trust that they are going to put the same tender love and care
Yeah.
as you. So um, you almost it's sometimes there's been a lot of research and a lot of talks on this, that you know your fans are sometimes your best employees and your best, the best people to kind of support you. And that's true. I mean, the people that have kind of bought your products and kind of are always kind of reposting and sharing and really celebrating and sharing, um, they're kind of already doing that.
Mm-hmm.
They might not realize it, but they're already doing so much, because that is so helpful when people are liking or sharing or commenting or even just um, helping to stand at your table for 10 minutes. you
Yep.
know
Yep.
um, it's all those little things that I think people don't sometimes realize how helpful that is, because it also can be lonely, having your own business and um, spending weekends at things.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It is fun,
Mm-hmm.
but it also does take, um, it takes a lot out of you as well.
Yep. Just like we were talking about earlier, me
Yeah.
being naturally an introverted person, so it's so draining. Yeah, I love chucking oysters. Yeah, I love being the life of the party as long as I'm behind behind the bar.
Right.
But it's so draining when I step away and finally get time to just whew, bring it in and let it all out. It's like, wow, okay,
Mhm.
let's go find a corner.
Small
Or even,
business therapy session, I'm telling you.
yeah, or even just literally walk into the bathroom and just stand in the bathroom for a little longer. You got to put up with that smell sometimes, but
Yep, you just
it's worth it.
deal with it. It's sometimes you need it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I would love to carry this conversation on when you start bringing some new products on, and the next time you're on ABC or something. Have you ever been like on like TV? Have you ever did that?
I have. I've done a couple things. I've done a ton of TV stuff with the music, and then
Nice.
with some of that, they've kind of naturally asked about Scheller things. This morning actually was just doing a Fox 45 spot with the Scheller for the Maryland Day Festival that's this weekend. So have done a little bit of things with it. So it's fun. It's fun.
So cool. All right. Well, we'll be on the lookout. I'm gonna put your songs on repeat, and we'll go from there. But thank you so much. Where can we find the Shelly? Can we find Shelby Blondell? Where can we find you and everything
Well,
you're about?
you can find on Instagram at the Scheller and at Shelby Blondell, and on Facebook, the Scheller and at Shelby Blondell. But thank you so much for having me. I always love seeing you, even if it's virtual. And I'm so excited to finally be on here. I know we've talked about this for quite some time. I always love listening, but happy to finally be on it.
Well, it was all my pleasure. All right, and that's a wrap.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was easy.